guys, so for today's science video, I am completing the lesson 1 lesson check. All right, so here is the lesson check. You do not have to complete number 1. Number 2 is where we're starting. Which of the following are examples of slow changes to rock layers? So in thinking about what can cause a slow change, in the reading, we talked about what can cause slow changes over time, and that would be like water, glaciers, and pressure also, like just pressure that can build up over time can cause rock layers to change by bending them. So that's what I'm thinking about when I'm going into this, answering this question, because there could be multiple answers. So A, a river cuts a canyon into a rock. That is for sure a slow change, like what happened with the Grand Canyon. B, rocks are broken by an earthquake. Earthquakes are a quick change. They happen suddenly, so that would not be an example of a slow change. Glaciers carve a valley into the rock. That would be an example of a slow change because as the glaciers are moving very slowly through a rock, that would cause the rock to break down over time. It's not something that would happen quickly, when you snap your fingers. So that would be a slow change. And then for D, pressure from above presses sediment into rock. Pressure over time pressing sediment, which are just tiny pieces of rock and debris, into the rock, that would be a very slow change as well. So to answer number 3, in undisturbed rock layers, the youngest layer is always on top. The answer is A. And we looked at this example with the newspapers. So if you were recycling newspapers, the oldest newspaper would be at the bottom of the bin and the newest newspaper would be at the top of the bin. And that's helpful for answering number 4. Your family is riding in a car. You see some rock layers in a hillside. Your little sister asks how the rocks got there. How can you best explain it to her? Circle the best answer. This question might be unrelatable if you don't have a little sister. The best way to explain the rock layers would be to remind her how your family puts newspapers into a recycling bin every day. Now, maybe one person watching this video actually gets newspapers delivered to their house and puts them in a recycling bin. I know that I don't, so for me this question is a little bit strange, but we did see the example earlier in our reading, so hopefully you are able to understand that question and how to answer it from the example. Number 5, use the words in the bank to complete the sentences. Blank and blank can change rocks slowly, while blank can change rock layers quickly. We were talking about different natural processes that change rock layers. Fossils are not a natural process, so we're not going to use that one. What can change rocks slowly? Glaciers and rivers. Glaciers and rivers will both slowly over time form canyons, so that would be a slow change, and earthquakes will change rock quickly. Earthquakes are sudden and unpredictable and cause a lot of damage sometimes, so that would be a really quick process for changing rocks. So we have more terms here than blanks, so we have to be a little bit more selective. Just read through the terms and figure out what makes sense in the sentence. Rocks in the Grand Canyon were bent by earthquakes. That doesn't make any sense. So we haven't read about earthquakes changing the Grand Canyon. Think about how we've been looking at rocks. We've really been studying their layers. So rocks in the Grand Canyon are layered is what we're going to put there. Rock layers around the world exhibit different patterns, similar patterns. I think that those words are kind of interchangeable. in the answer that is in my teacher's manual, it says similar patterns, but I mean, not all rocks have all of the same patterns. Some of them have kind of different patterns from each other as well, which is how we can see how they've changed. So I'm going to put similar here, but not all answers are black and white. So, I mean, really, if you put different there, you could make an argument for that as well, in my opinion. But the answer from the book says similar. All of the rocks in the canyon will blank over time. They won't stay the same over time because we've been reading about how they change. So the word there needs to be change. All right, in the lesson roundup on page 481, we're looking at A. Which of these is true of rock layers? Circle all that apply. So for these circle all that apply questions, you really have to think about each answer and why it could be true or could not be true. So A, they are always flat. That is not true. They are not always flat. If you look through some of the pictures that we've had in our book, I know some of them are hard to see, but they don't always appear flat. Some of them have been bent by pressure over time, or some of them, especially the mushroom rock picture. I don't have it right next to me to show you, but the mushroom rock picture, they didn't really look very flat in that picture. So that would be not true. They can be different ages. That is true. C, they can only change during earthquakes. That is not true because they could change due to pressure, heat, wind, water. All of these other factors can also change rocks. D, they can change slowly or quickly. That is true. They can bend or break. That is true. And that's how some rocks don't always appear flat because they could have been bent. They all contain the same type of rock. That is not true. The layers can have different types of rock. Rock formations around the world are all different types of rock, so it's not all just one type of rock. There's chalk, there's other ones that I can't think of. I don't know why I can only think of chalk right now. All right, for B, on each line, write the word or phrase that best completes each sentence. The Colorado River is what formed the Grand Canyon, so we can put that there. I'm just squeezing it in because the line is way too small to fit both words. The oldest rocks in the canyon are blank. Oldest rocks are near the bottom. The youngest rocks are at the top. And I should be crossing these off as I'm using them. The canyon formed very slowly, very, very slowly. It's not like somebody just woke up one day and all of a sudden the Grand Canyon was there. It formed slowly, slowly over time. So to answer C, they give you a ton of lines here. That should be your clue that you need to write a nice, solid, open-ended response to this question. Explain how pressure, temperature, wind, water, and gravity can change rocks. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different words that you should definitely have in your answer. If you don't have pressure, temperature, wind, water, and gravity in your answer, you're missing something. So what I'm going to do is underline the words when I use them in my response, and then put a check mark on top so I can kind of keep track of my answer and know that I've answered all parts of the question and what they're asking me to do. So I went through and I found in the text where all of these terms are and where they explained it. So I'm going to show you, I highlighted it. All of this can be found in Exploration 3, Not What It Used to Be, because this whole section is all about changes happening due to these natural changes. So first, I found on page 472 where they talk about water. Rivers are narrow bodies of water that flow over land. They can change the rocks beneath them by carving canyons. So that's how water can change. I'm just showing you what I highlighted, and then I'm going to write my answer based off of everything that I highlighted. I found everything else. So I found pressure and high temperatures, pressure, temperature, on page 474. Pressure and high temperatures deep below Earth's surface can cause rocks to slowly bend and change. And then I found more about water and then wind and gravity here on page 475. Wind and water break rock into smaller pieces. Gravity causes the loose materials to fall to the ground. So all of that stuff that I highlighted, I composed it into one paragraph. So I'm going to write the paragraph here. It's something that we don't always talk about in class, especially since I'm your math and science teacher. We don't always talk about language arts, but this is an important type of question to be able to answer, compiling all of this information into a response that makes sense. Pressure and high temperatures can cause rocks to slowly bend and change. That's going to be my first sentence. So I used pressure. Remember I said I was going to underline it, and temperature, two of the words that I needed to use. My next sentence is water can change rocks by carving canyons. That doesn't look like a capital, so I'm going to make it look more like a capital because you need to be starting your sentence with a capital letter. And I'm not writing the right word right now. I hope that you guys are as entertained by these videos as I am when I'm making them. Water can change rocks by carving canyons. So I used water, gonna underline it. And then my next sentence includes water as well, but I'm not going to underline it this time because I don't want to confuse myself. Also, I'm gonna put a nice transitional word in there. Shout out to Miss Hook and Miss Dustman for teaching us how to use transitional words and phrases to make our responses better. I'm going to put also. Also, water and wind can break rock into smaller pieces. And please, I hope that I'm spelling pieces correctly because I'm not a good speller. You guys already know that. And let me underline wind. Boom. Now gravity causes them to fall to the ground. Let's put a really good transition word in here. Which one would you pick? I'm gonna go with finally, because it's my last sentence. Finally, gravity can cause rock pieces to fall to the ground. Period. And I'm done. I hope that you guys enjoyed my science video. I miss you so much. Ghost wanted to say hi too. And I hope that I can see you guys at some point soon. Have a good day.